Hello, Packers fans, wherever you may be. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast for fans from fans, and we're very excited to continue Bears Week, our second edition of Bears Week in 3 weeks, as we get ready for Packers versus Bears on Saturday night. This is your Pack Attack Cast for Thursday before the game. We'll also be having our pregame show on Friday, and then on Saturday we'll have a mini pre-game show where we just go over the actives and inactives, but the bulk of the keys to the game and matchups are going to be handled in tomorrow's show. So we've got a lot to cover today. We'll start with our last injury report for the week. The Packers practice today, and then they travel to Chicago tomorrow. So this is the biggest injury report of the week. The Packers need to declare elevations tomorrow from the practice squad, so that might give us some further hints on where things will look Saturday as far as the injury report. So let's take a look at this injury report. Let me go ahead and share that for you. Here is our injury report for Thursday. Once again, we're not going to have a Friday injury report because the Packers are traveling tomorrow. Now, it's important to note that the Packers are traveling tomorrow, but they still have the ability to do treatment, therapy, rest, and recovery tomorrow and also Saturday, since it's a late game on Saturday. So I think that's really important to keep in mind, that with a late game on Saturday, yes, it is a Saturday game, but it's a Saturday evening game. So that gives the Packers tomorrow and Saturday during the day for rest and recovery and medical treatment. So some of these questionable players might not be as questionable as they appear. And we're going to talk through each and every one of these questionable players for Saturday. In addition, it's important to note that the Packers generally are more conservative about what's going on with the injury report than the standard NFL team. They tend to over-report, and a lot of the players that are questionable end up finding a way to play during the game. The Packers say that they like to do it because they want to be open and honest about what's going on with their players, but I also suspect that there's a little bit of gamesmanship with the Packers injury report. They would love their opponent to feel that more players are not going to be available than possible. That's just a theory that I have. But let's take a look at this injury report, okay? First on the list is Chris Brooks. This is very important. This is far more important than you think, because Chris Brooks is a key part of the pass attack on third downs as Jordan Love's personal protector in the pocket. He is one of those players that when he's on the field can buy Jordan Love an extra half a second to a second that can make the difference between a huge play on third down and an incompletion. So Chris Brooks has a chest injury, limited participation Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And he's questionable for the game. We're going to talk about what the Packers would do without him in a second. But I do think that Chris Brooks is probably more likely than not going to play in this game. He's got a chest injury. He's participated all 3 days, even limited, and he's got 2 days of rest before the game. So hopefully Chris Brooks will be a go. Brenton Cox is on IR technically. He has a groin injury, but he fully participated Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. He's listed as questionable. Now, I believe Brenton Cox is listed as questionable more because he's currently on the IR list than his groin injury. So if I am fairly certain that Brenton Cox will be activated to the active roster as early as tomorrow and will be a participant in the game on Saturday. He's a really good addition. He's been on IR for quite a period of time, but in training camp in preseason, Brenton Cox was playing very well at defensive end as part of the rotation. So having Brenton Cox in there at a time where we need a rotation of bodies at defensive end, we can't replace Micah Parsons player for player. But what the Packers can do is they can send waves of pass rushers at the line against the Bears and hopefully get some plays and some sacks against the quarterback by having fresh guys constantly rushing the passer. There's no question that when you have a fresh pass rusher who is not been facing their opponent consistently, when you bring in a Brenton Cox versus a bull rusher, Brenton Cox is more of a speed rusher. So you can actually trick up the offensive line by rotating your guys consistently and forcing the offensive line to constantly adjust to a new pass rusher that might have a lot more gas in the tank than the offensive lineman that's been playing the whole game. So Brenton Cox is going to be a key addition for the defensive ends with the loss of Micah Parsons last week. Kingsley Enagbare, he had full participation on Tuesday, full participation on Wednesday. Then it looks like he got an illness. It did not participate on Thursday. He's questionable for the game. So with illnesses, we don't know how bad it is. Does he have the sniffles? Does he have the flu? Does he have a strep throat? We don't know what illness means in this situation. But what we do know is the Packers have 2 days, Friday, which is a travel day, and all of Saturday before the game for illnesses to work themselves out. You have to keep in mind the Packers have one of the best medical staffs. This is not just you going to the doctor and saying, hey, I've got a sniffle, and they say, go home and rest. No. Enagbare is going to be getting IVs. He's going to be getting medical treatment. He's going to get all kinds of nutrients and resources that aren't available to the common man, which is why I do believe Enagbare will play in this game. Not only do we have the loss of Micah Parsons, but Enagbare has been playing very well the last couple weeks, and he's a free agent next year. All those things tell me Enagbare wants to be on the field on Saturday, not only for his teammates, but also for his future. His opportunity to shine the next couple weeks without Micah Parsons is huge. So I do expect Enagbare to find a way to play in this game. So as you can see, 3 of these players that are listed as questionable, I believe are going to play in this game. The first 3. Brooks, Cox, and Enagbare, I think they will find a way to be in the game by Saturday. Matthew Golden for full participant. I don't even know why he's on this list. Again, Packers like to over-report injuries. Any other team, if there was a full participant for 3 days, Matthew Golden would not be on this list. Josh Jacobs did not participate Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. He's got that knee injury, but I know Josh Jacobs as a player. He's a warrior. He knows how important this game is. We've seen him not participate in practice and be ready to go for the game. So I expect Josh Jacobs to play more likely than not on Saturday. This is just veteran rest and finding ways to manage the pain that he has in his knee. But I think Josh Jacobs, unless the coaching staff and training staff says he cannot play, they will find a way for him to play. Darian Kennard, this is very important. Limited participation Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with a neck injury. He's questionable, but he did limit participation, and with the possibility of having him fill in on the offensive line on Saturday, I think he will find a way to play in this game. So again, Kennard, I expect to play. So there, of the first 5 questionables on this list, I think all of them are probably going to play in this game. Marshawn Lloyd did not participate in all 3 games. He's been labeled as out. Now, let's give you a Marshawn Lloyd update. He's been elevated to the active roster, but he's going to go back on IR. In fact, I think he did that today because what they want to do is have him available in 4 weeks if his hamstring gets better. And if they didn't activate him and then put him on IR because he has a new injury, then he would be out for the rest of the season. So that's what's going on with Marshawn Lloyd. The soonest you would see Marshawn Lloyd is maybe the first round of the playoffs. Jordan Love, full participant, good to go, no problems there. Colin Oliver, limited participant, full participation on Thursday. He is labeled as questionable. Now, he is currently on the IR list, and they have to decide this week whether they're going to shut him down for the season or if they're going to put him on the active roster. If I had to guess, Colin Oliver will be left on injured reserve for the rest of the season. If Brenton Cox wasn't available, maybe they would bring Colin Oliver out as a designated pass rusher, but he hasn't practiced with the team before this week, so I don't think it's likely that he will be activated. Zach Tom did not participate all 3 days. He's questionable for this game. I think Zach Tom is about 40 to 60 if he will play in this game. Zach Tom is so important to the rest of the season, including the playoffs, and the Packers still have a 95% chance of making the playoffs, so you have to keep the playoffs in mind. Yes, the game against the Bears is very important for the division, but the Packers are 95% likely to at least get into the playoffs as the 7th seed, so we have to look ahead at the playoffs, and that's why I think Zach Tom will probably be out for this game against the Bears. Christian Watson did not participate on Tuesday, limited participation on Wednesday and Thursday. Now, Christian Watson has come out publicly and said he plans on playing on Saturday. That tells me that as long as he's medically cleared, he's going to be playing on Saturday. And that's a big boost for the Packers. Everything fell apart when he was knocked out of the game against the Broncos. So I do think Christian Watson will do everything he can to play in this game. So I'm expecting Christian Watson will play in this game, barring a setback in his chest injury. Josh Whyle, tight end, concussion, is out for this game. That was an early declaration. He's in the concussion protocol. So that means we have 2 tight ends available on the active roster right now. Look for them to activate a third tight end off of the practice squad tomorrow. I think that's what will happen here since Whyle is out. Donatavian Wicks did not participate on Tuesday, limited participation Wednesday and Thursday, will be questionable for the game. With the return of Christian Watson and Jaden Reed, Donatavian Wicks is a backup player at this point, so I do think he will be active for the game, and that's critical for depth. Next up, Evan Williams, knee injury, did not participate all 3 days. He's questionable for the game. We know that Evan Williams has an MCL sprain. The tricky thing about an MCL sprain is it really just takes some time to recover. You can wear a brace, but you still increase the chances that you're going to damage it further until it fully heals. So I think Evan Williams, again, another player that is so important for the playoffs, is going to miss the game this week because we have Bullard who can fill in for a game or two, and I think he will be fine. Not as good as Evan Williams, but he will be fine. So I think Evan Williams will be shut down tomorrow. Now, what you can watch for that is if the Packers add an additional defensive back from the practice squad tomorrow, that will be an indication to me that Evan Williams will be out for this game. John Williams has a back injury. That's not a surprise. He's out for this game. Savion Williams, limited participation Tuesday and Wednesday, full participation Thursday. So I think we're going to have Savion Williams back, and that will be an interesting dynamic because we haven't had him the last couple weeks, and he's going to primarily be a kick returner for the Packers, which he's done on an average basis. But look for Savion Williams to be used as a gadget player, which we did not have against the Bears 2 weeks ago. So look for Matt LaFleur to sprinkle in some Savion Williams running from the backfield and some other gadget plays for Savion Williams, because that's something that the Bears have not seen yet this season from the Packers. So look for Savion Williams to get at least 2 or 3 gadget plays out of the backfield in this game, possibly early in the game, to try to disrupt what the Bears are doing on defense. Now, let's take a look at the Chicago Bears, and this is very important, very important. As you can see, we have a couple players with illnesses, but they're fully participating. So I expect Bagent and Billings to be available. Luther Burden, this is really big news. Ankle injury, did not participate. Luther Burden will be out. And this is really big because Luther Burden has been filling in as kind of the bigger playmaker for the passing offense with Odunze out. So with Odunze and Burden out for this game, it's going to be really big for the Packers defense. They're really going to be able to say, we're going to stop the run and we're going to force the Bears to beat us with their second tier wide receivers and a quarterback that's really not that great at being a playmaker in the pocket. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Tremaine Edwards, groin injury. He is questionable for the game, but he did participate fully on Thursday, so I expect him to play. Cole Kmet, this is very important. Ankle knee injury, limited participation on Tuesday and Thursday, full participation Friday. So that tells me Kmet will be playing in this game, but he might not be at 100% with an ankle injury, and a lot of his explosiveness might be slowed down with this ankle and knee injury that we see on Sunday. Romeo Odunze, foot injury, did not participate this week. He is out for this game. Okay, that's a really big deal. We've got one of the backup linebackers for this game out for this game. We've got DeAndre Swift with a groin injury, limited participation. So it looks like he practiced on Tuesday, then he had that groin injury, and he was limited in participation Thursday and Friday, or Wednesday and Thursday. This is very big news because the Packers really had to deal with a two-headed monster last week. If Swift can't play, that will be a big boost for the Packers defense because they're going to be facing one running back consistently the whole game, and that will impact the Bears' ability to really make big plays in the running game. So we're going to watch that very closely. So even if Swift is able to play, a groin injury really impacts a running back's ability to shift around, especially in the backfield. So that might reduce some of the shiftiness that Swift has in his game, and that still could be the Packers' benefit even if he does play. We've got defensive lineman who is out for a personal matter, did not participate on Wednesday and Thursday. He practiced on Tuesday, so this is really probably going to be a game time decision. Okay, so there is the injury report. So when you see a lot of questionable players for the Packers, it's a little scary. But I think a lot of those questionable players are going to find a way to play on Saturday, whereas the Bears have a lot of key players that are out in this game. So I do think injuries are going to be a significant factor for both teams. But if you look at the injuries for the Bears, especially in their wide receivers, this is really going to impact the Bears' ability to score a lot of points and make big plays down the field. And that really swings the advantage, in my opinion, to the Packers in this game. It's going to be a very tough fight, and it can easily go either way. But when I look at this report and I look at the Packers that are actually more than likely to play versus the Bears players that are already out for this game, I think by the time we get to kickoff, the Packers are going to look a lot better on the injury report than they look right now. Okay? So let's take a look at how the Packers are going to adjust if some of these players are out of this game. Okay? Josh Jacobs, I think he will play. If not, I think Wilson will be a fine substitute for this game. But again, I'm 85% sure that Josh Jacobs plays in this game. Chris Brooks, I think he will play. If Chris Brooks does not play and Josh Jacobs plays, look for Josh Jacobs to try to be in there on third downs because he's a much better personal defender on third downs than Wilson. So we're going to have to watch that very closely. But Chris Brooks is really important for third down and fourth down because he is the personal protector for Jordan Love when he needs that extra second to make a big play in the passing game. Brenton Cox, I expect he will play in this game. Enigbare, I expect he will play in this game. Zach Tom, I think it's about 40 to 60 if he plays in this game. And Kennard will be your starter if he is able to play. Let's not talk about what could happen if Zach Tom and Kennard can't play. We're going to watch that very closely with the call-ups tomorrow because that might give us a hint about whether Kennard can't play in this game. So right now, I'm expecting Zach Tom will be out and Kennard will be your right tackle against the Bears. I think we could get by with Kennard and the limited pass rush for the Bears. We'll talk about that more tomorrow in our pregame show. Watson, I'm 85% sure he plays unless he has a setback. If not, Wicks or Golden will have to be the playmakers deep in this game. Evan Williams, I think Evan Williams will not play in this game because he is so important to the long-term future of the Packers, not just this season, but long-term. They don't want to risk a tear on that knee. It's so much better to give him a week or two to heal and take the chances of that knee injury becoming serious out of the equation. So for this week, you put Bullard in as your strong safety and you use him in the box on early downs. So what I expect to see against the Bears is you're going to have Bullard in the box. We're going to have a stacked box, and we're going to bet on the Bears not being able to make plays on early downs in the passing game. So you put Bullard in the box on early downs, and then you put him into a two deep shell with McKinney, and you have Nate Hobbs take over the slot on 3rd and long. I think that's going to be what we see on game day, since I don't expect Williams to play in this game. So, strategy for this game. We're going to talk matchups and keys to the game tomorrow, but let's talk a little bit of strategy. All right. A lot of people have sent me messages in my email about what we do without Micah Parsons the rest of the season. So, I need you to go back to 2024 when we didn't have Micah Parsons. And I need you to go back to preseason and training camp when we didn't have Micah Parsons. And what the Packers did is they played Tampa 2 high safeties with simulated pressures and disguised coverages. That is what the Packers planned on doing this year before they got Micah Parsons. And that's what they did all of last year, and that's what they did in all of training camp. So what you do is you revert back to that. We're going to have simulated pressures. We're going to have disguised coverages. And on passing downs, what you do is you supplement an extra pass rusher with Cooper and Walker as rushers. We know Cooper had a great year in last year as a pass rusher, a situational pass rusher. Look for Quay Walker and Cooper to add additional pass rushers on 3rd and long, because remember, the Bears are missing their two biggest playmakers at wide receiver. So you put extra pressure on 3rd down and you force Caleb Williams to make a play with some of his receivers out of the game. I think it's a winning strategy for this week. On offense, we need to run the ball and get the ball out quickly in play action. Jordan Love is the best quarterback on the field. We need to put the ball in his hand, but we need to run the ball enough to keep the Bears defense honest and open up opportunities for Jordan Love. Jordan Love did an excellent job against the Packers 2 weeks ago, or against the Bears 2 weeks ago, and I expect that to be again the case in this game. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, again, we're going to do keys to the game. We're going to look at key matchups, and we're going to do our pregame show tomorrow afternoon. Then Saturday, once they announce the actives and inactives, I'll come on and give you a quick update before the game, depending on how the actives and inactives go. The active and inactives come out an hour and a half before the game, so that's when we'll do like a special mini pregame on Saturday. So tune in tomorrow for our big pregame show where we talk about keys to the game and key matchups. And as always, go Pack Go. We'll see you tomorrow.